Hey there, Chad Herzog here, Executive Director of Arizona Arts Live. Welcome to episode 6 of On the Record. My guest today is David Slutes, Entertainment Director at Hotel Congress. Dave, so good to see you and welcome to On the Record.
Thanks for having me.
Hey, Dave, how's your year been?
Very, very interesting, like everyone else's. It's been, if you mean the 365 days, it's just.
Yeah.
I think you know how it's been. Yeah.
Do you remember what your last live performance was pre-COVID?
Yeah. In fact, I just recently put up our poster from the week that we just put out the week before St. Patrick's Day and all that. And I just re-put it up to sort of remind myself of what things were like back in those days. And we had Chuck Prophet, and it was a great show. But even then, it was that Wednesday before the Wednesday. And I can remember thinking, people, just give yourself some space here, and it's before anything, but I'd already felt it. I felt it coming,
Dave, you've been at it for a while. And when I mean at it, I mean this work. How did you get into first working at Congress, but really getting into curating and booking live performances?
Well, in fact, it's kind of looking back. I wonder why I wasn't doing it earlier, because I joined Congress back in 1996. So that's quite a ways. But that was really, I was a working musician. I think of myself as a musician first and foremost, still to this day, but that's just what I tell myself. But at that time, we opened up a cyber cafe here. I knew the place very well, Hotel Congress, and I played here many times, and I never left. And eventually, I had I sort of was always advising the live music, and many people like the past Rialto folks and everyone's come out of here. The Congress tree and all the booking guys in Tucson seem to have come out of here, and I eventually just finally took it over for good in about 2003 or 4, and haven't left.
I'm wondering if you'd mind pulling back your curtain a little bit. You are sitting in front of the curtain, so maybe you've already pulled it back. But how you can talk about sharing what your process is like around booking and curation and just bringing artists to your stages.
Well, for me, it's always been pretty easy. I tell my assistants this all the time. It's like good music, good people, good draw, and then beyond simple things like that. But mostly because of who we are in this community and how Congress is sort of looked at, I've always felt we had this responsibility to nurture and curate the locals. So it's always been about going after and kind of encouraging them to come out to perform. Whatever we could do, if we saw a record release, we go out. It's really been a lot around the locals. Obviously, Congress does nationals. It does everything. We take, like you probably do, agents will contact you. We'll do all that kind of thing. And, we have festivals. We have all this, but it's really born out of the curation and the local cultivation of the local music scene. Does that kind of answer your question?
That totally answers my question. And you've brought up your assistants now twice, so I'm going to skip around our order and just jump into it.
Yeah.
What advice would you give to someone looking to level up in the profession?
Well, you have to, obviously, and I think most people who get into this business love it already, but you have to love it. You have to you have to throw yourself in with the performers and artists and feel like you're part of their success, their career, and knowing that you have a higher mission than just your job. And that's how we've always looked at it, Congress. People who come here love this process. They think they're doing something important. They think they're really contributing, and to help the success of other artists is really, really important. Everything else comes easily. You can fill out a show sheet. You can do a contract. You can make sure bands have waters. You can do all the stuff. You can learn that. But the passion and intent is really what I look for, and then try to encourage in the people I work with.
Yeah, Dave, how do you discover new music?
Well, that's a cool thing, because I'm not a spring chicken anymore, and the great thing about this job is it not only kind of forces you stay in, but I'm a music guy anyway. I've always loved music, but having this job, it's just marvelous. And frankly, you just have since I've been a little kid, you're just listening, whether you're going to a used record store and now you're just scanning over Spotify to still see stuff, or SoundCloud to local stuff. But a lot of great stuff has come to me, again, for the third time, my assistants who burble things up to me, the 22-year-old assistant who's listening. And I just love to hear what's coming up, because if I don't have my finger on the pulse, they will, or at least the pulse we're trying to get to. So you just, if you're a music fan, you find ways. And I'm definitely, if nothing else, a music fan. So the rabbit holes you'll go down, they're wonderful rabbit holes, but I've been down so many rabbit holes. Oh, you like that? You like this? You like that? Oh, yeah. Oh, they like that. What's that? And next thing you know, but you have, really, all the resources out there, it's incredible. It's a lot of content. You just have to find your favorites. And, I have my favorite little podcast. I have my favorite music, and I know they like what I like. So there's something, but really it's just networking too. It's a lot of that.
Yeah, but what is that favorite podcast?
Well, I like Noise Pop a lot. I like the NPR one a ton. I listen to that every week. I like the Switched on Pop a lot. These are just great because they'll start referencing stuff that I hadn't even thought about. They're terrific. And Noise Pop and All Songs Considered are two that always sort of keep me up to the newest releases too. And they always have really good, thoughtful dialogue about it. So if I'm just looking to see what's out there that's not either local or some relevance to what we're doing here, those are pretty good options right there.
Great. And favorite musical discovery or music discovery over the last year?
I think about this past year in music. It's been weird, and how we all have been reacting to it. And for me, as a music lover, I found myself trying to do some self-care, and I retreated to like my big B's, the Beethoven, Beatles, and Bowie. But then all these things would pop out this year, like the Fiona Apple record came out, and it's such an interesting time it's sort of like my soundtrack to the pandemic, because it was so a part of it all, and these crazy records by, Hayne put out a great record, and, Waxahachie was another great record that came out that I thought was fantastic. And we had booked them in May, and we obviously couldn't do it, but if you think about it, a lot of the great music came out this year was all women. Taylor Swift put out great record. It's music. Yeah. So it's crazy. Yeah, but it was a lot of self-care too. I keep listening to, but I found myself this past year sort of retreading into stuff I just love.
So a year ago, or let's call it 11 months ago, Club Congress was one of the first organizations in town to offer virtual programming. How did that start, and why did you decide to stop?
All good questions. We were stopped in our tracks. We had so much going on. Congress runs 900 events a year for the last couple of years. We just crazy. So when that stopped, having that all go away and watching all your employees go away and watching all this happen, I felt that our whole mission was dead. We couldn't do anything to help the music community. And the life that we thought Congress could be was inactive, inert. So we started thinking about what can we do that answers our mission of providing entertainment, answers our mission of helping out the local performers. I thought, well, maybe we can go virtual. And my great assistant, Michael Hayes, was able to really work on the tech end fairly quickly. And so we thought we'll be the first place to go live every night of the week with music. And we were pretty proud of that. It sort of drove us to say we can do this. And we did it for 2 months, but it helped. We didn't have money to do it at Congress. So I was able to marshal the resources of the Southern Arizona Artists and Musicians Healthcare Alliance, whose primary mission is to help emergency funding for artists and musicians. And I'm on that board. I helped found the thing, and convinced everyone, said, hey, here's an opportunity let's spend our money now. This is where we really need it. Let's give it back. Congress can give us the vehicle. You can answer your mission and help out artists. And so we were able to actually pay the artists too every single night of that thing. So we went for every night for 2 months, and it was awesome. It was awesome. But ultimately it became boring. It was the same thing, and everyone started streaming, and it just lost energy. And I said, well, this is good. We've done our job. Let's retool and think about how we can start being more strategic with this kind of thing. And I think, using the Zoom concerts and whatnot has given us at least new tools for the future. But I thought doing it every day was just wearing us out.
Yeah, yeah, no, I think we feel that as creators or content makers, but also as audience members.
Exactly. Well, there's the audience member in me that said, we have to, it's nice to be able to do this. We're paying artists, we're doing this stuff. We're tapping the resources pretty hard of this organization. And I think we've done our job. I think it's now not as effective as it was. So again, you have to pivot again whenever you can.
One thing that you and I have talked a little bit about is what it's going to take to get bands and our production teams back up and running again. And wondering if you wouldn't be able to offer a little bit of insights on, and let's talk more on the band side. How long do you think it's going to take? How are we going to get there to get them back on stage performing for audiences?
Well, I mean, I think on the local end, it's going to be quick. I think when we get the touring things, there's so much involved, and I think people realize how much is involved, from the booking to the production to the travel plans to making sure if this is what you're getting at, and I think it's a big part of how we book these things. Every venue has to be set up, and then the band has to feel safe, and then the venues have to feel safe, and then they have to figure out where are they going to be promoting a record. There's so many questions, and I think the timeline, especially for the larger events, especially at UA, I pity you more than me, because I can get shows up fairly quickly with local acts who just want to play. But we do that too. We do all the big ones, and there's just a lot. The agents are going to make their money for the next couple weeks, because they have a lot of head scratching and pivoting to do too, just to get us back up and going with these acts.
One of the things, Dave, that I admire about the work that you all have done is trying to stay relevant over the course of the pandemic, whether it be at first with your Club Congress running for 2 months, or into what you're doing for Soul Food Wednesdays, to all of these other initiatives that you've started. Are there any of these that you think, yeah, that's the one that got us going, and we're going to hold on to that?
Well, I mean, it's funny you should say that, because I don't think our mission ever changed, but the avenues to do it just shrunk dramatically. Obviously, we felt very proud about the online, the live streaming. When all the social unrest happened in the summer, it stunned us, and we had to take a look at our own business. And as much as we think we're a very progressive business, and we had to reevaluate everything. We did our DEI training for all the head director staff, and then we started thinking about what can we do, for example, and you mentioned the Soul Food Wednesday, and it's made a perfect sense to say, why we don't have a restaurant on Wednesday nights. Why don't we just give over the rest of our business to supporting Black-owned businesses? And that started in the summer last year. And it's with all this horrible stuff happening, it was such a soul-fulfilling night, because here were such good energy and all these people, and I have all these new friends now from all these people I've met in the Black-owned business world, that I thought, oh my God, that's great. And I've eaten more good barbecue in the last year than I ever have. But it's one thing that this is working, and we've just restarted it up again after a month of being careful with it. And it's a thing that I think has a lot of legs. It's a very proud of that. And of course, we've opened up another couple safe avenues for music, was where we could. We pivoted and tried to engage what people we thought we could do. And for example, I went to the Blues Society here in town and said, hey, why don't we put together a safe outdoor weekly show? And that's been hugely successful on Sundays. And Rhythm and Roots, we have an Americana show Tuesday soon. So we engage these different groups that need an outlet, and we can provide it to them. And we've pivoted, and all these things currently are functioning, up and running, and should be able to coexist with as we grow into the future.
Yeah, great. And I would think that all these things are helping you develop new audiences. And how do you plan on seeing these audiences that you're bringing in, and then ramping up to what we knew about Congress before?
Well, again, I mean, COVID or pre-COVID, I don't look at it as any different strategy as far as getting new audiences. We just look at opportunities and look at what audiences aren't being served at any given time, and what opportunities COVID allowed us to do. Found new groups that were dying to see music, i.e., the Blues Heritage Association folks, the Americana folks. We will always be looking at new and different opportunities with people. It didn't change. And you just look around and you keep your finger on the pulse and say, how can we engage people? Who aren't we serving currently? Because Congress for me is for everybody. I feel everyone who walks in this place should feel ownership of it as an arts and entertainment place. So nothing's really changed. It's always constantly looking and reinventing ourselves. And that's been part of our success, I think.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. I know you mentioned that Congress is for everybody, and that's always been one of my short time in town, has always been one of my favorite things about walking into Congress, regardless of the night, and seeing totally different people than I saw the night before or the week before. And something that I hold on to, whether it be the DJ on stage on doing the late night set outdoors, or what we get inside too.
And I'll tell you, I think we've turned it into an asset, not a challenge. In that, I remember a show back a year and a half ago or so. I think it's Sergio Mendoza doing a giant Latin big show on the outside plaza, and I had this really hardcore punk metal act inside, and both acts go cool, and the crowds who cross here get it. And I think that doesn't happen everywhere. And I think people say, oh yeah, that's going on. And everyone's respectful. Everyone gets it. This is a place of art and music. And if I can leave if I die, with one thing, that's one great success I'd take to the grave with me. That feeling like all art is good. Everyone can get along here.
Yeah. Congress has some big plans coming up. Some big infrastructure plans coming up into the future, and over the next really year, right? Would you mind sharing with us what those are looking like and what we expect?
Well, we started building. Obviously, we have the outdoor venue, which is it's just a stage and lights, and it's quasi temporary. It'll function well, but I've always felt we needed a permanent venue downtown, outdoor venue, and we're finally going to commit to it. And we've asked Rio Nuevo to help support us on this and open up potentially another lounge/jazz club on the front end of our street, on Congress Street, for a room that used to be used for private events. And we figure, if not now, when? We've always wanted to do capital improvements, but we're so busy all the time, we couldn't stop. We have a little window here maybe before we completely ramp up. Let's do it now. Ownership is committed to, making this big move. It's a big move for us to grow in this way. But I think the time is nigh. So
as we look towards the future, and something that we're really committed to right now is getting Tucson ready for this Renaissance, and really promoting the Renaissance that's happening, but really hopefully going to blow up over the next few months into the next couple of years. What do you see Tucson's Renaissance looking like?
Well, I think we touched on it right there. What our jobs are is always read the tea leaves a little bit. And what you see right now is there's this influx of folks coming in from California, from Portland, from Seattle. There's all the real estate's booming, and a lot of it, maybe I'm myopic, because a lot of the people I see come to Congress, and you'd expect certain kind of people to come here. But the energy and the newness of this, and the amount of people who can add more human energy into our community, will only bolster all of our plans. My plans, your plans, all the other people. I see more artists moving to town than I've ever before seen. I think we'll look back and say the pandemic was sort of a line drawn for us, where we took off and became sort of that, we're not just a little baby of Austin, but beginning to develop our own identity. And the amount of talent we already have in this town is there, and we can welcome a lot more. And I think growth is in our future in the arts and cultural community. It's palpable.
It definitely is. And I feel so lucky, Dave, to have you as a colleague in this community and to be doing this work together and know that Tucson is going to be ready for this renaissance. And we're going to make sure that live music and live experiences are had by all. So, Dave, thanks so much for all the work you do at Congress, but also all the work you do for us here in Southern Arizona. It's really been great talking today. Thanks.
Thanks, Chad. It was really fun.